We would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everybody here in council chambers, those who might be viewing through the internet or through our channel on YouTube. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Kingman City Council held at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. I'd like to turn some time over to our city clerk for roll call.
Mayor Watkins.
Present.
Vice Mayor Samily. Here. Councilmember Dykens.
Here.
Councilmember Savage.
Here.
Councilmember Staley.
Present.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Thank you. We would like to invite those who would like to participate in our invocation to stand with us. Our invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Kelly Lewandowski of Hope City Church. And afterwards, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. If everybody would take this opportunity to bow your heads and close your eyes and join us as we pray together. God, we come before you this evening and we thank you for the privilege and the freedom that we have to gather in this place. And Lord, we just invite your presence to be here with us. We pray that over the following proceedings this evening, God, that you would guide the conversation, that you would give wisdom and direction to the city council. Lord, I pray a blessing over our mayor, over our city manager, God, over every city official and council member, God, over our law enforcement. God, we pray a blessing over every member of Kingman, Arizona. Lord, we pray that you would continue to guide and direct the development of our city. And Lord, that you would be present. Lord, that you would lead us, and Lord, that God, that you would continue to bless the things that are decided here tonight. And God, we praise you and we honor you. We glorify your name, for you are good. And God, we just come before you. We give you our hearts and we give you our attention. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I would remind everybody, and of course myself included, because last meeting I messed up. I didn't silence my cell phone, so if we could quiet our electronics, I'd appreciate it. We would appreciate it. The council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431.03A3 to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. Item number 1, call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The council may not respond to speakers during the call to the public. The council may direct the city manager to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. We do not. Annie, do we have any?
We do not, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2, consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council. Notice of intent to enter into a site-specific economic development agreement. Pursuant to ARS 9-500.11, before entering into a retail development tax incentive agreement, the city must find that the proposed tax incentive is anticipated to raise more revenue than the amount of the incentive within the duration of the agreement, and that in the absence of a tax incentive, the retail business facility would not locate in the city. These findings must be verified by an independent third party before the city can enter into the agreement. Included with this items are the findings of fact, verification letter, and notice of intent to enter into a development agreement with Hobby Lobby Stores Incorporated. Consideration of the development agreement will be on the December 2nd, 2025 City Council meeting agenda. Staff recommends adoption of the notice of intent. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple of questions. I wanted to make sure that we had representation from the property owner on the line.
We do, Vice Mayor.
Okay, and also representation from Hobby Lobby?
Yes, we do as well.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions. I know that this is a topic that's being talked about a lot, and this is just our notice, but I wanted to put some get some information out into the public, just for transparency purposes and for my own clarification. I wanted to know from the property owner, can you tell me which one that is?
Yeah, I can, do you want me to let you know who has joined us?
Yes.
So we have Rod Adamian from City Sunstone Properties. We have Carol Sorensen and Brooks McMillan with Hobby Lobby, and we have Caleb Wilson with the Retail Coach.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so I have a couple questions. One is for the property owner, Rod, I believe you're online. I just want to know, can you tell the public, and for our own clarification, what kind of construction has been happening on the property? And if that is as a result of something that you're doing, could you just update us what's happening on the premise?
Of course, thank you, Vice Mayor. This is Rod Atamian. I'm the managing member of Sunstone Arroyo LLC, which is the landlord for Frontier Plaza. As you've probably noticed, there is some work that is going on at the property currently. The work taking place is what I'd refer to as landlord work at the moment. Hobby Lobby doesn't have permits at all. And so the work that is being done is work by us to prep for Hobby Lobby, but frankly, the work that's going on is work that would generally need to be done for any national tenant or switchover in those spaces. Much of it has been demolition of, whether that's refrigeration systems inside the former 99-cent store, things like that. So, but it's basically prep work to accommodate the timeline and schedule of a new tenant.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. And then for Carol and for Brooks, I had a question for you. There's a statement out in the public that the project that you're looking at doing in Kingman wouldn't happen unless there are some kind of agreement within the city. Can you talk a little bit about your interest in Kingman? Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like? If this is something that absolutely has to happen. I want to get some information out to the public. I also want to talk about the hiring process and what does Hobby Lobby look at when they come into a community. There's several postings for jobs. As you can imagine, the excitement around the potential of Hobby Lobby coming into our community is very great. It's grand in nature and it's all over the place. So I just wonder if you could address those items and what you look for and if this is just standard for you to look for people to see if what kind of hiring pool you have prior to coming into a community. So if you could elaborate on those things, I would appreciate that.
Well, this is Carol. So I'm Carol Sorensen. I'm the in-house real estate counsel for Hobby Lobby, and I think Brooks probably can speak more specifically about the hiring practices, but our lease agreement is contingent on this development agreement, and we've been, operating in good faith, under the presumption that it's going to be granted. But of course, because of the certain timelines that we have to try to open within the periods that we anticipate under the lease, but it is a condition to the effectiveness of the lease. So that is, from a legal perspective, what we're dealing with. Oftentimes in markets with inflation, that what it is, our margins are very small sometimes, and so these incentives can really make or break the viability of any particular deal. Brooks, can you speak a little bit about what the standard hiring practices are for stores when we open them?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
we first identify markets where we want to serve a customer. in Kingman, Scott Nelson, the rep that signed this deal, identified the Kingman, Arizona market as one that we want to serve. It's a market we think we can be successful in based on our volume projections. And once we identify a market that would be a target for a successful Hobby Lobby, then we proceed with finding a location, securing a deal, signing a lease, and as you can imagine, today's economic climate, deals are a little bit harder to come by than they used to be, and so in a market like Kingman, the incentives were crucial to the structure of the deal. And then once we get a deal structure in place, assuming that we can kind of hit our minimum internal profit thresholds based on the economics of the deal, then the hiring piece of it actually comes closer to the date that we've scheduled to open. The operations team will go in, they'll put together a hiring event. Much of that will be done online, but we will have people on site that'll go into the community, and it's kind of an open application process, and our management team will go in and take the best candidates, and they'll staff the store, and then we'll bring in I don't know, 25 or so department leads from around the state and around the district, and help get the store fixtured and set, and train the new associates that are going to be local to Kingman. And that's a process that's done well after the deal portion has been finished, and we've on the business side have moved on to the next deal. And so the evaluation of the labor market in a particular market is a little bit independent from what we do on the business side. We're generally looking at economic conditions and the viability of a market that will support Hobby Lobby in general. And then the ops guys come in well after the deal is done, and they'll get the team staffed up locally. So we don't have much involvement in that part of it from a deal perspective.
Okay, thank you. And just to put more information out into the public, employment numbers, how many employees do you anticipate putting into the Kingman market?
If this store hits volume projections, I imagine we'll have somewhere in between 35 and 45 positions. About 70% of those will be full-time. And then we'll have probably 2 salaried managers, a store manager and a co-manager. So anywhere between 35-ish and 45-ish new jobs in the market.
Okay, great. So I just have a couple more questions, if you'll indulge me.
Of course, Vice Mayor.
I see Caleb is on the line from Retail Coach. I just wanted you to talk a little bit, Caleb, about what you've seen in our market, what the request has been, what does Hobby Lobby coming to Kingman, if we do decide and we bring them in, what does that look like for Kingman, and what are you hearing from what you do, Caleb?
Sure. So, I certainly, appreciate Brooks and Carol's sentiment on that. And this is candidly what we see from most tenants of their size in this market, right? This is something that to earlier point, where the margins are just thin. So this collaboration is super important to kind of get these deals across the finish line, specifically in this situation where the building technically, wasn't really, probably originally set up for a tenant of this size, and so, the economics behind it are quite extensive, and so this has certainly been something that we've been working towards for, call it, a couple of years now, probably a little over 2 years since the original discussion. And I think, candidly, Kingman's been on their radar for maybe a little bit longer, but there's just never been the right space. And it just was the right time. So, again, I'll just reiterate that, in this market, it's a kind of a balance between the rent, kind of that build out, et cetera, and just kind of everything that the typical consumer is dealing with. We also have to remember that, these projects are taking quite a bit of effort themselves, just from inflation and other things that are affecting those build out costs. So I think this is a great discussion, huge, visibility for Kingman, and I think it speaks to the way we're going. And we're looking forward to what comes with this.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Mr. Moquin, if you could come up. I just, again, want to get all the information out and be as transparent as possible. Where is this project in the building department? What are their next steps? What has currently been done?
Certainly. Mayor, Vice Mayor, this particular project is in review with the city's Development Services Department. The overall tenant improvement plans is awaiting some additional submittals for fires review for the suppression system on the building itself. There has been a permit issued for a dock remodel, which also included some interior demolition. So that permit has been issued. That was issued to the property owner on this particular project. And then they do have a fire suppression plan, again, that is separate, that will be going through a separate review still.
Okay, so clearly there has been no permit that's been issued for the tenant improvements.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you. That's all I had, Mayor.
No, good questions. Thank you. Council, any other questions on this item? Vice Mayor, would you like to make a motion then for item C, notice of intent to enter into a site-specific economic development agreement?
So moved.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, authorization for Mojave Wash storm drain repair contract. 2 60-inch stormwater culverts discharge runoff into Mojave Wash. Recently, a fire caused by transients camping in the area ignited the plastic storm drain, resulting in significant damage to approximately 80 feet of pipe. The proposed work includes removal and replacement of the burned and collapsed storm drain sections. Additionally, a trash rack will be installed at the discharge point to prevent unauthorized entry and reduce the risk of future damage. The work will be completed utilizing the City of Kingman Job Order Contract ENG 21-0084. The project cost is $102,211, but was not included in the adopted budget and constitutes an emergency repair. To accommodate this unplanned expenditure, funding will be reallocated from the Harrod Avenue Basin Improvements Project to the Stormwater Fund. Staff recommends approval. Councilor Ward and, of course, Councilor Savage.
Yeah, my first question was, do we know who set the fire?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Councilman Ward, we don't know. We do have a police report, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the term we used, but we had a number for that. As far as I'm aware, based on the report, there was nobody that was apprehended or cited for that.
And my second question would be, if we put plastic tile in there and it burnt, why would we replace it with plastic tile?
So the entirety of that stretch of storm drain, which actually goes from Mojave Wash all the way through the Walmart parking lot to Sycamore, is all the plastic pipe. So we're replacing in kind just for the connections. As well, we're going to put a trash grate on the front of that to restrict access. Upstream, it's all drop inlets with grates on the top. So once we secure that discharge point, nobody can get into that storm drain unless we unbolt that trash rack at that point.
Okay, that answers my question.
Thank you, Councilor Ward. Councilor Savage?
My questions were answered.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate
Thank you,
the
guys.
answers.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about this item? Okay, Councilor Ward, would you like to make a motion then for item E, authorization for Mojave Wash storm drain repair contract?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on. Item number 3, action items. 3A, approval of resolution number 5580-AB25-002, consideration of a request to vacate right-of-way. AB 25-002 is a request to consider vacating right-of-way, ROW, that bisects the project site having a width of 30 feet and approximately 220 feet in length, and reserve an easement for public utility purposes to facilitate the development of a new convenience store with drive-through service, and supporting the existing fueling facility located at 4518 Stockton Hill Road in the C3Z. And those are parcel numbers 324-26455A, 456457, and 458. Applicants Tess Garcia and Levi Reed on behalf of RG Gas and Grub LLC. Staff recommends approval with staff recommended conditions. Jason, welcome again.
Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you very much. Abandonment case AB 25002 is just as we stated. It's a request to vacate a portion of an existing right-of-way, which really is an alley currently on a project site that is intended for redevelopment or development. The requested action comes before us to allow for the development of a convenience store associated with the drive-through restaurant, along with an existing fueling facility that's already at the site. As indicated, this particular application is being brought before us by Tess Garcia and Levi Reed, applicants on the behalf of the Gas and Grub. Overall, the project site itself is located at Stockton Hill and Northern Avenue here within the city of Kingman. The overall right-of-way is approximately 30 feet in width and extends approximately 220 feet in length and bisects the subject site. Before you on the overhead is an exhibit that demonstrates the project area. There's 3 parcels that are located to the eastern portion of the site and a single parcel that has an existing fueling facility on the westerly portion. The area in between those two is the vacated right-of-way that's being sought for this evening. And again, this is the exhibit, and the area is hashed out on the exhibit to the right of the screen. Just for informational purposes, again, this is to facilitate a future development of a drive-through facility, a convenience store. It will serve as an ancillary use to the existing fueling facility. The applicants do have a proposal to expand that fueling facility and redevelop the portion that is on the westerly part of this project site in the future. Overall, this is really the first step coming before the council. This is really asking the council to allow staff to move forward, to allow the applicant to seek an appraisal of the property. If the appraisal comes back and the mayor and city council are supportive of that appraisal, we would then enter into a development or to an agreement for purchase and sale of the right-of-way itself. Once that is done, it would be recorded. We would reserve our easements over it for our public utilities, and the applicant would be able to proceed forward with their development. The abandonment in itself does meet all the city's current requirements. You may recall there was a couple months back that we did make an amendment to the streets ordinances that would allow for the vacation and abandonment of right-of-way once utilities have been already established within it, as long as we reserve easement over those actual utilities. And that's exactly what's being proposed here this evening. This particular project was also reviewed by the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. It was noticed in the paper as well as published on site. The Planning and Zoning Commission did vote 6-0 in recommendation to the mayor and city council. Staff does support that particular recommendation, and we're seeking your direction this evening with the approval of AB 250002. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments for Jason? Okay. Thank you. Seeing none, then item 3A, can we have a motion then approval of resolution number 5580-AB25-002, consideration of a request to vacate right-of-way?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3B, approval of resolution number 5583, a request to consider an action directing staff to record the blank petition for annexation, a city-initiated proposal, AN 25-002, to annex approximately 3,415 acres adjacent to and surrounding the Kingman Airport with the Mojave County Recorder. This area includes approximately 790 acres within this Kingman Industrial Park Master Development Plan, the IPMDP, identified for future non-aeronautical land use, approximately 413 acres along both sides of Route 66 from Castle Rock to Mojave Airport Drive, and approximately 360 acres within the airport perimeter. Staff recommends approval. Jason?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, thank you. This particular annexation is annexation number AN 25-002. We've identified this as being the airport area. Just a little bit of background. In July of '24, staff underwent extensive research in regards to several annexation areas. We ultimately consisted of 5 areas within outside the city boundary of the city of Kingman. We did add an additional area in January of 2025, which was the East Wallapai Mountain Foothills. And in March in 2025, you may recall we brought this back, Deputy City Manager, Finance Director Tina Moline brought this forward with a comprehensive report on the financial review of it and sought council's direction as to which particular areas to proceed with annexation. Based on council's direction, we did proceed with the 2 areas, that being the East Wallapai Foothills, being of 1,675 acres approximately, and the airport annexation, which is before you right now, and that's the 3,415 acres. So there's several steps to the annexation process. We kind of alluded to this when we did that particular presentation. The first step being the actual recordation of the blank petition. That is what we're asking for council's direction this evening. Following that, which we've already started, which is the data request that we've did originally back in 2024. However, we do need updated request from the county as well as the Department of Revenue. And then we'll move forward with the actual formal petition to be filed, which begins our 30-day waiting period. That will likely come before you sometime in January, as we under state statute, we are required to hold the public hearing within the last 10 days of the petition period before proceeding forward. We do anticipate that it can take upwards to 11 months, and we do have 11 months to complete and gather all the signatures from the property owners within the annexation area in order to meet the ARS requirements for annexation. If we were able to do that successfully, then we would be coming back before the council for the actual annexation ordinance. The timeline before you is really just assuming that it's going to take the full 10 months to get there. We anticipate kicking off a robust workshop and outreach to those in the annexation areas early spring, so that way we can gather those signatures, and we'll be working closely with our other departments within the city. The exhibit before you is the annexation area itself. It's outlined. This was annexation area 1B in the presentation that was presented back earlier in this year. And based on the findings contained in your staff report, staff is asking for approval this evening in order to go ahead and file the blank petition. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason concerning this item? Can we have a motion then approving item 3B, approval resolution number 5583?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. 3C, Jason, it's your night tonight, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. 3C, approval of resolution number 5584, a request to consider an action directing staff to record the blank petition for annexation, a city-initiated proposal AN 25-0001, to annex approximately 1,674 acres east of the Wallapai Mountain Foothills with the Mojave County Recorder. The area includes approximately 1,674 acres generally located south of Southern Avenue and north of Wallapai Mountain Road, with a portion lying south of Wallapai Mountain Road. Staff recommends approval.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, thank you. So again, this is annexation 25-001. We've identified this as the East Wallapai annexation. And again, just going through the same background, we did present this back, we started the research in July of 2024. We brought this forward along with 5 annexation areas that were potential. We added the 6th area in January of this year, and of course brought it back before the council in March of 2025. We've talked about the 2 annexation areas associated with these proposals this evening. And again, this is allowing for the filing of the blank petition, which is the first step, which we're asking for this evening. And then again, we'll continue with our data request with the county and the Arizona Department of Revenue. Again, this particular annexation encompasses about 1,675 acres, of which about 127 acres would allow for potential future commercial development. And again, once we proceed forward with this, we will be preparing to go out and gather signatures again to meet the ARS requirements for annexation. The same timeline consists with this particular project as the previous one, so we do anticipate completion no later than February of 2027. However, it is staff's goal to go ahead and get this done prior to that. And again, the boundary is outlined in red on this particular exhibit, showing the annexation area that's associated with the proposal. Again, based on the findings contained in your staff reports, staff does recommend and seeks approval this evening from the Mayor and City Council to go ahead and file for the blank petition. I'm available for any questions.
Council, any questions or comments from Jason?
I do.
Yes, Councilor Savage.
Will you go back to the map, please, Jason? Down on the southwest portion of south of Wallapai, there's a parcel that looks split in half. And I believe that's a business that deals with rock and gravel and dirt and all that stuff. Why are we going south of Wallapai?
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Savage, when this project came before you earlier in the year, this was the annexation area boundary that was being proposed. This particular area was looked at specifically as we did have a couple development opportunities working with local developers. They were seeking rezones and general plan amendments in the county with the potential of annexation into the city limits. The boundary was based on the natural boundary for the area that could be annexed. The area that is outside of this area, I believe, falls under, I want to say it's BLM. So that's why it goes to that extent. The actual area that you're talking about where it bifurcates that particular parcel, again, it falls within that particular area of the section line without, again, exceeding any further south.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
If I may
yes,
just
ma'am.
add to that, as Director Milken mentioned, basically as we looked at this area, it was basically expanding it out to those BLM boundaries. So I would assume, I don't have the map in front of me right now, but I would assume the south portion of that may be in BLM land through a lease through BLM, the pit that you're talking about there. But the rest of it, basically that boundary follows the BLM land, basically expanding the city boundaries to expand to that. That's how that was identified and mapped out.
In that area, I don't know if you would be able to answer this or not, Jason. How many residential homes are in that specific area south of Wallapai?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Savage, I can't answer that exact question before you this evening. I can certainly go back and get that research and provide that to you. We do have a complete assessment of all of the parcels in that area, including the ownerships of those particular parcels.
Okay. I'm just having a little bit of reservations on this. Okay, that's it for my questions right now. Thank you.
I will add to your reservations. How's that? I have a number of friends that have homes in that area because some of those parcels are fairly, typically 5 to 6, 7, 8 acre parcels. Most of residential, even on a little bit on the north side of the Wallapai Mountain Road there. Good friend of mine's building a house right now, and I talked to him and he says, I don't want to be in the city. And so I'm just sort of voicing their concerns. I know a number of them are here tonight and are probably want to share some thoughts on this, but I know they don't want to. I would propose maybe for consideration would be that line going north, the green red line of all the, in other words, where there's not residential. Just basically a big rectangle, almost rectangle. Yeah. And leaving those residents alone, because I think most of them do not want to be in the city limits. I think we're going to get a lot of friction and negative thoughts from those people. So just food for thought. I mean, I know you're going to go out, we're going to go out and send people out to look at that, but I think that might be something we, as a council, might want to consider I don't know, that's a tough one. So there's plus and minuses. Yes, manager. Did you were familiar with your microphone, so I thought you might want to say something. You're good, thank you,
Nothing
Tim.
at this time, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, just food for thought. Council, any other questions? Councilor?
I was thinking the same thing here. I've talked to some residents who live in that area, and they're like, we don't want to be in the city.
Right.
I mean, do we redraw the line on Wallapai Mountain Road north? Because there is a lot of vacant land there. For all these existing houses, I mean, can we make that its own section? So how does the vote break down if it goes into get the signatures?
Councilman Walker, Councilman Savage, can you guys use your microphones,
Sorry.
please? Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Walker, so tonight before you is the request to go ahead and file for the blank petition. We can certainly proceed with that. In the event that we don't get the signatures, the option would be to come back and not proceed forward with annexation at all, or to come back and file for a new blank petition and go back and look at the financials, look at the pro forma that goes with the area in which may have a revised boundary. So that would be a separate action at a later time.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Walker. Yes, Councilor Dykens.
If it doesn't pass with the signatures and you come back with another blank annexation paperwork, does that start another 11 months process?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Dykens, yes, it does. It will restart our process in regards to how we can go about ARS's regulations in regards to annexation are more about the rules and complying with them in regards to the signatures, when we can get those signatures, and then bringing it forward ultimately. I can tell you if we were to have a revised boundary, I think the ownership is a lot less in that particular area, so we would actually be working with less partnerships within it.
Answer your question? Well, it's a work in progress, let's say that.
It just seems like it's a lot of wasted time. Do we have people that want to speak?
We do. So if we're ready for that, we'd like to call them up. Okay. Actually, we do have some citizens who would like to share their thoughts on this matter. Gene Bishop. And Gene, are you speaking for everybody else, or is a number of, I know the rest of you, Gene filled out a form. Is there somebody else that's going to want to, anyway, we'll turn some time over to you, Gene.
I'm not sure who all wants to speak, but I am here representing many of the property owners. So my name is Gene Bishop. I am, as you know, a retired county supervisor, very happily retired, and happy to be here tonight, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, Councilman, County Manager, hello. So I'm here at the request of many of the neighbors in the area, including my brother, as you all know, who's a large property owner in the area. They're here tonight and asked me to speak on their behalf to save time. And they really live south of the Wallapai Mountain Road, which you guys have discussed. And I like what I'm hearing, that maybe that might be taken out of this proposal tonight. They bought their homes on large lots so that they could have animals and workshops and room for families and kind of live that rural lifestyle that Kingman is really all about. They accepted that they would have to drive a little bit further for some services, and they knew that they wouldn't be paying city sales tax unless they did travel into the city. They don't want to deal with city building permits, city code enforcements, and another layer of government telling them what to do. They own their own land and they're proud of it, and the proposed annexation would force them all into the city overnight. So that means to them an immediate 2.5% city sales tax on everything they buy locally, adding hundreds or thousands of extra dollars on many families that are on fixed incomes or tight budgets. It would also mean a loss of the rural lifestyle that they chose and invested in with added codes and permits and oversight that doesn't really fit their lifestyle on their large properties. It would also mean they would have little or no increase in day-to-day services to justify the extra tax burden. They already pay for private wells, septic systems, and county roads. So their statement that they wanted me to read to you is, we are not against growth. We simply ask that the city grow by annexing unoccupied or willing land, not by reaching out and grabbing existing county homes and large lot properties whose owners never asked to be brought in. If the city moves forward, we respectfully request that you redraw the annexation map to stop at the current developed county neighborhoods and leave long-established residents in the county that they chose. Please respect the decision we made and we brought here. We chose Mojave County on purpose, and we would like to stay Mojave County. Thank you for listening. So to sum it all up, you guys know my record. I am pro-growth, and I'm so happy to see the city bringing more property into the city because we need the money for various reasons. But in this particular case, I hope you would consider redrawing that boundary as many of you suggested.
Just ignore that.
Oh, that's okay. I'm trained. My
You're
3
used to it
minutes are
anyway,
up.
aren't you, Gene?
Thank you so much, and it's good to be in front of you again today.
Great, thank you. I think Gene spoke for everybody. I know there's a number of you here, and I would give you time if you need to, but I think Gene covered it. I don't see anybody jumping up to wanting to come up front. Oh, yes, Tim. Please state your name and where you live.
Tim Schroeder. I live at 703 East Oak Street. With my dad, own property up there. We have the mining operation. To answer your question, council member, if I can. The bottom half of the red line. We purchased the subsurface rights from BNSF Railway on 20 acres there. And so that's why there's that dividing line. The north side is our own property. Anything else I can add while I'm here?
Any other questions for Tim? Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Okay, I think that probably covers it all for anybody that's wanting to speak on this subject. Any further questions for Jason, since Jason's standing back up there? Yes, Councilor Dykens and Vice Mayor.
Well, I was just gonna agree with you. I don't know why, if we have this resistance and we know that we're gonna have this resistance, why are we not just amending? What's the fiscal impact to changing the lines?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, at this point in time, we would have to go back and reevaluate it. I don't believe that there would be a significant impact. They're mostly existing developed lots at this point. We can certainly go back and do that if it's the council's direction tonight to deny the filing of this blank petition and direct staff to bring back a revised boundary. We would certainly be willing to do so, and we can bring back that with any additional financial information that may be necessary.
So with that being said, do we have the opportunity, Carl, to have both options available at the meeting? So we have like an option A and option B. I feel like I want to see the fiscal impact of it with and without to make a more informed decision.
We can have 2 annexation petitions available. So if you want, or the blank petitions available, then if you want to pick one or the other, sure.
Well, I was just thinking that would help speed up, not speed up, but it would help the timeline. We could make that decision and file that petition based off of, the information. So I concur that why should we go through the whole process to then go through it again? So that's where I'm waiting.
So can I just clarify? So what you're asking is for this petition to be brought back with another one that's been amended to reflect.
Correct.
Basically that north-south line to Wallapai Mountain Road.
That is correct. That's my.
Well, no, I understand. And of course, once again, you do have, in that lower right corner, you do have some residents there too. Not that I've been able to speak to them, but I would imagine that there's going to be resistance there too. So how would we, once again, proposition B is where would you draw the lines in? In other words, I think we need to give Jason some guidance on that, what we're thinking.
I would say,
Council.
it would be council's discretion. I'll go with whatever the majority is if we want to bring it up.
If I may, the engineer in me would say Wallapai Mountain Road would be a good breaking point.
That's what I
Just a
thought,
nice,
too.
clean, here's the city boundary, go up to Wallapai Mountain Road.
Okay.
And So that would be my recommendation, but yeah,
I
that
could
would be my
support that.
recommendation.
Okay?
I could support bringing it up to Walpi.
So that north-south, red-green line, just going all the way down south where it hits Wallapai Mountain Road, and then that line going left and right, where it's checkered, that'd be the dividing line for Proposition B? See, I wish we had laser pointers.
Yeah, so what I would do is, so right now, what the proposal is right now is basically everything you see in red.
Correct.
What I would do is exclude everything south of Wallapai Mountain Road. So the Driscoll Way, and my eyes are not that great, but the next road to the west would be included in the new proposition.
Okay.
Or proposal.
Okay.
So that would be my recommendation. Then your city boundary is clean. It's right along Wallapai Mountain Road. There's no question of in between houses or lots or any of that, which is in and which is out.
Okay. Counselor Savage?
I concur with Wallapai. I do have a question, though. Tim, you may, on Wallapai Mountain Road, of course, we're going to be expanding that. That's inevitable down the future. With the county on one side and the city on the other side of Wallapai Mountain Road, how would those improvements take place? Would it be a co-op between the county and the city, or would it be all city? How would something like that work?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Savage, I believe that's what we would have to go back and really take a good look at, because of the fact that when we routed this to the county, you know, we did receive comments back from the county, taking into consideration first responders, where they typically like to see the roadway. Typically, it's center line in most cases, so that's where we would certainly want to make sure that we have that boundary that works for all parties.
Would it, if we're going to widen it, hypothetically, sidewalks hypothetically, can you do the line to the I don't want to say an easement, but kind of an easement to incorporate that as part of the city for the improvement portion of it and not worry about the land on the south side?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman Savage, I think given where we're at in the process, it would take us sitting back down with the county, working with our engineering staff. We would certainly have to reserve easement if that's the case.
Right.
The county would have to be willing to do so. Understanding where the boundary line for the city would act at that point, it doesn't always follow where the roadway alignment may be either, so. Some of those improvements may shift to the north, some may shift to the south if you're widening it in the future.
Excuse me.
So, Mayor, if I may, I
Yes.
think it's possible to say, okay, do we want to include Wallapai Mountain Road, do we not? So then the boundary would go either to the north side of the right-of-way or to the south side of the right-of-way. And then that way, I know I had Chief Cooper mention some of the issues that we've seen with Gordon, with that being in the center line, and then who has which side of the road and all of that. So it's cleaner if we say, you know, to the north side of the right-of-way or the south side of the right-of-way, and then it's clear who owns it and who maintains it.
I think from an economic standpoint, we're going to all say the north side of it. That way, it leaves that road in the county, correct? Well, yes, Counselor Saley.
I would just remind everyone that one of our concerns about this area is that it doesn't have any fire service. They're not within a fire district. They are not in the city. And so if something happens on Wallapai Mountain Road, if something happens at all in this area, we will respond. But none of those property owners are currently paying in to get that service. So if you make Wallapai Mountain Road, if you cut it to the north side and Wallapai Mountain Road is not in the city, the fire department's still going to go on calls for car accidents in that area, but it's not going to be city property. So just something to think about is that this impacts first responders and certainly how, I'm sure how those calls go out.
No, you bring a valid point. And actually, City Manager and I were talking about this as far as pluses and minuses of what being in the city and not in the city.
Yeah.
Of course, fire protection. And actually, Tim, do you want to elaborate a little bit more? Or?
Do you want me to kind of jump in on that one?
Sure, Carl.
So dispatch is going to send people out
Yeah.
for mutual aid or whatever. If you're talking about an area that's not a fire district, we kind of go back to Councilmember Walker's comments, a couple of years ago, where we talked about billing for those type of areas. So we would set up an ordinance that if we responded to a non-district area, that those individuals would be billed.
But we currently don't have
We don't
that
have-
ordinance.
No, we don't. We can do that, but we just haven't done it. So we can address that.
Yes, Counselor.
So currently, right now, the way that it sits, if there was an emergency response to that area, who's going to go? Is it going to be Kingman Police and Kingman Fire that respond?
City manager, they're closest. I mean, from what I see, we're the closest.
From a fire standpoint, yes, we would be there, we'd be the first responder, because there is no other option, so we'd be the closest, and we would respond to that, yes. From a police standpoint, I mean, technically it would be in the county, but I'm not sure, it would be an ESO responsibility, but again, I think it might be whoever's closest.
Sure.
So potentially, right now, as it exists, we could be going there, providing services, and we don't have a system to bill to recoup some of the costs. Is that correct?
That's correct. Any other pluses or minuses, city manager, you want to add?
I think we've gone through basically, that is the discussion.
I know one of the arguments that was jokingly told me is that, well, if we supplied water and sewer up there, they'd gladly become part of the city. Of course, once again, the expense of that would be incredible. So, but anyway. So how do we want to move forward? This is proposal A, and we need to do a proposal B. And we need to give Jason a line. Tim, you want to chime in on this?
And if I can, just to clarify, as I mentioned, my recommendation would be to basically go to Wallapai Mountain Road, whether it be the north side or the south side, to include it or not include it. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be a big impact whether we include those homes on Driscoll Way or the road to the north there. If council wishes to follow that section line down to Wallapai Mountain Road and carry it over, or just basically follow that north-south line to the other side of Wallapai Mountain Road as well, that's possible. But that gets a little bit tricky just looking at it right now. If we follow that north-south of section, what is that, 27? All the way south, you have a portion of the road that would be in the city, then it goes into the county, then it would come back into the city, then it would go back into the county. So that would be a little bit problematic as far as that goes. But you could stop at Wallapai Mountain Road, have that as your boundary. You could stop, basically follow your west boundary of section 27 to Wallapai Mountain Road. I would say if we're gonna stop at Wallapai just with that boundary, I'd stop at the north side, continue that all the way over to the east side, and then that road continues in the county through the distance there. So yeah, those are options. I believe it sounds like the least friction that you'll receive is continuing that section line on 27 south to Wallapai, and then stop at the north boundary of Wallapai Mountain Road. As far as getting it approved by the residents, I think that would be your least resistance.
Okay. I'm almost in agreement. I think all the way down to Wallapai Mountain Road with that division line where it's all undeveloped. Then, of course, it cuts that corner off, stopping at Wallapai Mountain Road, and then continuing that checkered line. We could go all the way down to Wallapai Mountain Road, but where there's a section there, there's two residents there on the north side of Wallapai Mountain Road. I would leave those in the county. Because once again, I think those people, I know who they are. I think they've chose to live out there. Why? Because they want the rural thing. So basically, it's a cookie cut, a little bit of an angle right there. I'd be glad to get up and show you real quick what I'm talking about.
No, I see which one you're pointing at. The only concern I would have is if you follow that dashed red line across to the east, at some point, Flying Fortress Parkway will make its way south to Wallapai Mountain Road. And if that's completely within the city, that gives us a little bit more flexibility on that alignment and where that goes. If it's crossed.
Yes, I would stop there. In other words, I would go farther down, south of that. So it includes, okay, just take out the checkered line.
So go to Wallapai Mountain Road until you
But
get
then
to
right
that
there above
property.
where Chief right there, it's not that sign right there, right, stop. Just go up and then
the
go
34.
up and then over. Yes, thank you, chief. Perfect. I know. Good job.
Got that, Jason?
I have that.
I think we're gonna see the least resistance from any of the residents there, and that we appease their desire to be in the county. So, but that way it includes all that whole section of where we know there's gonna be new development. That's why we're doing this. So, anyway, council, any other thoughts? Counselor?
What Counselor Staley said really resonates with me. I think that if we're going to do this and we're going to accommodate those that wish to be in the county, then they're in the county, and we need to follow it up with an ordinance that if we do any public safety protection, that we're going to have to recoup. Because, I mean, that is a benefit to those residents if they come into the city, and it is a detriment if they don't and we don't follow up with that ordinance. So that's what I would like to make sure that we're including, so.
I agree. Yes, Counselor?
One more comment, and this isn't a motion or anything, but can we vote against proposal A altogether and pursue the proposal B and have Jason come back with the full proper information for the blank petition? Because part of me says, why are we going to pursue the first one, waste all the manpower, all the hours and time that it's going to take a canvas that are probably going to come back negative anyways? So why waste that time and money when we know it's pretty much not going to pass?
Very valid, very good point.
Yes.
Carl, we're good?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor,
Jason?
Vice Mayor, yeah, I would say, yeah, if that's the case, if we could make the recommendation then to not proceed with filing this blank petition, staff will bring back a new blank petition with the boundary that was discussed this evening. Staff does need to do a little bit of work. We need to revise the legal exhibit that goes with it. We do have a consultant on board that's been assisting us with that. So we'll go back out, have that particular area surveyed, and we'll bring back the blank petition at a later date for this particular area.
Okay. Council?
I'll make a motion to deny Resolution 5584 and to ask staff to please bring back a new map that includes all of our comments tonight so that we can take another look at this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to deny resolution number 5584. So yes vote, we'll deny it.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jason. And of course, you might as well stay there, right? Okay. And thanks for all the public input on this matter. We appreciate that. Item 3D, approval of resolution number 5581, declaring City of Kingman zoning code as amended dated April 6, 2021, and as amended effective January 1st, 2026, is filed with the city clerk as a public record. Declaration of a public record via resolution number 5581 allows the comprehensive zoning code update ordinance number 1985 to be adopted by reference in lieu of publication in whole. The proposed zoning code as amended by Z025-001 has also been published on the City of Kingman webpage along with a red-lined version identifying the reorganization, added and deleted text. Staff recommends approval.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you very much. Actually, items D and E, I'm going to present together. They are two different resolutions. They will require two separate actions. However, they both are for the same thing. And really, it is for the actual acknowledgement that the existing code, including the subdivision ordinance and grading ordinance, are already on file with the city clerk's office. And this was in lieu of actually publishing about 1,000 pages into the newspaper. So that's the purpose of the two resolutions that are before you this evening, and they do lead directly into the remainder of the items, which are public hearings this evening. With that, staff is asking for approval on both of those resolutions, and again, each one having a separate action. Available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Jason concerning these matters? So let's go ahead and approve item 3D, approval resolution number 5581. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For technicalities, we'll read 3E, approval of resolution number 5582, declaring City of Kingman subdivision and grading ordinance effective January 1st, 2026, is filed with the city clerk as a public record. Declaration of a public record via resolution number 5582 allows the new subdivision and grading ordinance number 1986 to be adopted by reference. Staff recommends approval. Jason already explained to us. Any questions or further comment on this? Can we have a motion then approving resolution number 5582?
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Jason. Of course, you're going to might as well stay here, huh? Item number 4, public hearings. 4A, approval of ordinance number 1985, a city-initiated comprehensive zone text amendment, Z025-0001, to the City of Kingman zoning code, titles 1 through 6. Z025-0001 is a city-initiated text amendment to the City of Kingman zoning code, titles 1 through 6, for the purposes of reorganizing the code to allow for greater readability and navigation while aligning the city's procedures and applications, Title 2. Establishing future planning and engineering development standards, PEDS. Adoption of a new and expanded land use matrix, Title 3. New and updated development and design standards, Title 4. And a comprehensive reform to the city's definitions. Staff recommends approval.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Again, these two items, I believe it is items 4A and 4B, I'm going to present them together in a single presentation, but action will be taken separately, and we'll read the description for 4B after this one. Thank you again this evening. ZO25-001 is an ordinance that's being introduced this evening, 1985, as a comprehensive update to the April 6, 2021 zoning code that was adopted by this council back in April of 2021. The second part of it is, again, Ordinance 1986, which is the repeal and replacement of the July 1983 subdivision ordinance with a combined subdivision and grading ordinance, in which we would actually repeal various sections of the city's municipal code, therefore aligning the subdivision ordinance and grading ordinance into one singular document for reference purposes. So again, the purpose of tonight's zoning code update is to modernize and reorganize the code for improved clarity and usability, align with evolving land uses, community expectations, as well as Arizona state statute, support businesses, residential and civic development through clearer, more flexible standards. In my time here, what I've heard is our code is difficult to read, it is difficult to interpret. I can tell you in 27 years of being in planning and zoning and building, if I am struggling interpreting it, I can't expect the community to do so as well, or to interpret it otherwise, much less our business partners and development partners that we work with. That being the case, starting in January of this year, actually in October of last year, we started doing public workshops with our developers. We continue that into the new year, January, we did another one in March. May, July, and in each of those we took feedback from the development community, we took feedback from staff, and in January we started working comprehensively with a consultant, a contract consultant, to help reformat this document so that way it was readable and it was something that we could implement with ease for both staff as well as the general public. That being said, Title 1 through 6 is comprehensively updated in this particular ordinance. Title 2, which is the codification of our rebanded development process, which we've been implementing since August 1st of this year as a trial period. It does change some acronyms in how we approach development, from due diligence and development plan review. We've incorporated some exemptions and waivers. We've expanded and clarified our temporary use permits, which you may recall came back before this body late spring, early June in regards to off-site premise signage. And so this particular update starts to take on those changes. The biggest change that I start to see really comes into Title III. Title III, we do adopt a new land use matrix. It's very much expanded. It allows for a lot of uses that help with business attention, attraction, as well as retention, and it certainly supports our economic development department. Also, it actually goes in and looks at our downtown districts. When the 2021 code was adopted, we moved forward with a zoning designation acronym or naming a convention called the Transect Zones. Those Transect Zones don't really give identity to our downtown district. We have a really robust and vibrant downtown corridor. With that being said, we wanted to actually rename it to Downtown District, so it actually aligns with what the purpose is. Title IV really goes into looking at development standards, some of those which we heard feedback and we got direction from this body, which we are very thankful for, and that deals with our accessory structures, metal buildings. We've done some updates into the accessory dwelling units to align with Mojave County standards, which was just recently adopted, and those do align with the current state statutes. We looked at some driveway standards to eliminate some of the loopholes that we found where driveways weren't being required in certain areas to where they would be required at some future point in time. And then some emerging uses, food banks being one, micro schools being another. And so with that, this allowed us to create development standards. And I think that one of the biggest sections, one of the next biggest sections that comes into play is our parking code. Our parking code was very limited. With the revamped land use matrix, we've gone ahead and expanded that parking code to align with the actual land use matrix itself. Our sign code. Although council gave us direction to do a comprehensive amendment in 2026, we will certainly be doing so. However, there were certain amendments that we did need to bring forward to support the temporary uses, our commercial real estate signs, our subdivision signs, which were brought forth in the various workshops, as well as council's direction in the reuse of pole signs in our commercial zones to support our commercial businesses. And then lastly, definitions, condensed and clarified. We had two sets of definitions that had two sets of definitions at the end of the day. It made it very, very difficult, arduous for us to implement, giving two different meanings for lot widths or lot areas, lot frontage, and by doing so, we actually combined all of those into a single source, and then we aligned those to be consistent with the subdivision ordinance, so we have the same definitions across all of our documents. So real quick, and I know most of the council has seen this, I'm going to go through this presentation fairly quick. There's about 39 slides, and I know we don't all want to be here all night tonight. But really the rebranding of the development process, it allowed us to really shave off about 2 to 3 months of our development timeline. I can tell you this is always a continuous improvement. We are further looking to reduce that timeline even as we speak. We're looking to start bringing items back-to-back meetings from Planning and Zoning Commission to Council. So when we don't have to skip a meeting, we can actually, again, further those projects in the process. Ultimately, in order to implement this, we did need to update our zoning ordinance that is reflective in Title II. It provides clear defined submittal requirements for our development partnerships, updates our subdivision ordinances, and again, gives credence to those particular areas. The development process summary, this is just a roadmap that we prepared. We shared this throughout our workshops, but really just tells our development community how to get through our development process in a very easy way. Our goal is to really get them to building permit issuance as fast as possible. This breaks it down to where if they don't need entitlements, which there are some changes in our subdivision ordinance, which we'll talk about this evening, that does certainly reduce their timeline to getting to their entitlements and allows them to move forward in an expeditious manner for development. And again, I talked about the downtown district renaming of the transect zones. So as you can see on this particular exhibit, we have T4, which is neighborhood, T5, which is general. We have T5 Main Street. So again, we start using the same numbers and the same acronyms for different meanings. And then we have T3 for our neighborhood as well, all for different purposes. So what we've done is we've just simply changed those designations to DD1, 2, 3, and 4. They still have the same development standards. We did allow for one change, which allowed for flexibility in some setbacks along side yard property lines, which when you have an infill downtown area, it is really recommended that we have those types of flexibility in order to support development in those areas. One of the other big changes that we had is our non-conforming lots. We had in the old code a very arduous table. It talked about non-conforming lots, and then it gave conflicting information. We got rid of the table altogether. Non-conforming lots are buildable lots. Just because they're non-conforming in regards to the lot area width, the depth, and so forth, they're still developable. They still have to meet the development standards. That may not always be the case, which is why we see a lot of lot combines come before our department. With that being said, under our current subdivision ordinance, we do not allow for lot combines. We don't have minor lots or minor subdivisions. With the updated subdivision ordinance, we do have that, so this actually goes to speak to allowing for those combines, which would be done through a parcel plat process. Recognizing that we also have lots that may not be combined in the future, or they may have been combined just through the tax assessor's office. This particular ordinance also allows for those lots to be resplit. However, they could not be resplit to anything less than 5,000 square feet in area, which would be the minimum if they were to be legally combined together. And again, getting back to the land use matrix, our current land use matrix is roughly about 3 pages. It is in more of a paragraph format. It is not in a table format. We went comprehensively and looked at our surrounding cities. We looked at also cities in the valley, and really what the emerging land uses are. We've come through, and I will just quickly go through the next 7 slides. They are just a robust use of land uses that we've identified that would be permissible in our respective zones or conditionally permitted. There were certain uses that we know have been being asked for. We've included those into this matrix, such as food banks. Those are allowed in our C3 designation, our I1, I2. There are other uses, such as our group foster homes, group homes, and so forth, that were fairly silent in our previous codes. Those uses are now clearly called out. We have supplemental development standards that are in Title IV that allow for us to regulate how and how closely those particular uses can be to one another within our residential communities. So one of our big takeaways and one of the emerging uses that I talked about was microschools, daycare centers, and we know that there is a vibrant need. There is a need for these types of uses. However, what we also found is microschools are not regulated by ARS. With that being the case, I could end up with 3 or 4 microschools on the same street under a single property owner in some cases, where they could have anywhere from kindergarten through 3rd grade. They can have a morning session, afternoon session. They could have junior high. They could even have high school, where you have actual students driving to and from these programs. And again, that becomes very impactful in our residential communities in regards to the amount of traffic that's coming in out of them. Our residential streets are not intended for that type of traffic. So what we've done is we've actually identified microschools. We created development standards for those particular uses, and we identified the commercial zones in which they could go in. And we really aligned it to be very straightforward, so that way they could do so. It's permitted by right, but it also brings forth and addresses the safety concerns, public safety, safety for the students, making sure that we're also in adherence to the building code, as well as fire suppression and egress. We went through our architectural design guidelines, and understanding this is something that does get very sensitive in certain areas, we really left them intact. We did provide clarity. There was a lot of ambiguity associated with our design guidelines in the past. So we went through and we did move some of the information around. The biggest takeaway in our industrial design guidelines is we really looked at our metal buildings, what we would allow, what type of buildings and where. For metal buildings, we really wanted to be able to separate and differentiate them between our commercial zones and industrial zones. So if you have existing metal buildings, instead of doing a standing seam metal building today, you could actually put a metal building on your property or expand it with another building that matches. The only metal buildings that we actually went ahead and prohibited are those that are the Quonset hut style or the bunker style type metal buildings. So those are expressly prohibited. But it does allow for greater flexibility in our industrial zones. Within our residential zones, what we were seeing is a variation of where the buildings were situated, understanding where they could be, what type of architectural elements were needed. They range from having glass or wood, a percentage of, and it just became very, very difficult for our homeowners to understand what they could do. So we went and took a look at where the placement is, and we realized if the placement is to the rear of the main building line itself, as long as it's painted to match the existing structure, we felt that that was adequate in order to support our residents and our community. We do have single family, we have rural residents as well, so we felt that that was an appropriate line to draw. If it was located forward of that rear building line, then they would need to implement architectural standards that match that of their home. And so this particular language does represent that as well. And again, this provided for additional clarification for our staff. We wrestled with this on a daily basis every time we got asked about metal buildings. Accessory structures, again, this is just really cleaning up the code in regards to where they can be situated and sited on the property, the square footage and so forth. There was realignment of some of the language. One of the other big takeaways is our accessory dwelling units. Accessory dwelling units are under state legislation. There was a significant change that went into effect this year. Although that change doesn't impact communities until you hit 75,000 residents or greater, it would be something that we would have to table, we would have to remember to bring back at a later time. And at the same time, the county was moving forward with the ADU ordinance that actually mimics that of the state statute. So in order to be consistent with that of the county, we went ahead and moved forward with implementing it in our ordinance today. And then one of the other ones, driveway standards. Again, I alluded to the fact that there were certain situations in which if the street was not improved, the applicant did not need to put in their driveway at all. It would be subject to code enforcement at some point in time in the future for us to go out there, ask the applicant to put their actual driveway in once that street is paved. And we felt, well, they're going to be needing a driveway anyways. They should be putting their driveway in with their development. When the street is approved, then we would actually provide the actual connection at that time. So this addresses that particular change in our zoning code. And again, I'll skip through the next few slides fairly quickly, but it is our parking requirements that do align with our land use matrix. Going back to our temporary signs, our off-site signs that we dealt with earlier in this year. This is one of the bigger changes in regards to the sign code that we're implementing, and it does allow for a temporary use to be issued for temporary off-site signage when it's in conjunction with an event that's occurring here within the city limits. It does not allow for off-site signage if the event is located on a property that's located in the county or outside our city boundary. It does allow them to have banners up to 12 events per year. They do require to have a property owner authorization. It allows it to be up to 24 square feet in area. They can put it up 14 days in advance. However, it does have to be taken down 48 hours after the conclusion of the event. This particular ordinance, we worked very, very closely with the nonprofit groups, the other organizations that had an interest. They actually took the time to go out and research and bring forward recommendations to staff. It's very much appreciated to see that type of commitment from the community, and we've gone ahead and reflected that within the ordinance itself. One of the other changes we saw, which was really the feather banners, the feather banners that we were seeing were located very close together. They had multiple feather banners for single type uses. When that happens, we end up getting into corner line of sight issues. It becomes detracted, or they're not maintained to some degree. So this ordinance cleans up that language as well, and it does require for some spacing requirements and some size requirements to be adhered to. And as council will recall, we were posed with some sign questions regarding our existing pole signs. We have existing pole signs that were eliminated from our code in 2021. It didn't allow for the reuse of them. This does allow for the reuse of existing pole structures and cabinets. So if you have an existing structure or a cabinet that's on it, or even if it's not on it, it would allow for those signs to be put back into use. The applicant would be required, if they're putting a new cabinet on, they have to go out and get their engineering. They have to demonstrate that it certainly meets all the building code requirements, but at least it gives them a way to reutilize those signs until we come back and have a comprehensive amendment to our sign code. One of the other ones was our real estate signs, residential and commercial. Commercial real estate signs were silent in our code, so at the request through the workshops, we went ahead and developed design standards that would mimic that, consistent with industry standards, as well as for our residential real estate open houses and so forth. I think the big takeaway on the residential open houses, what we didn't have before, which we have now, is that they can display their signs from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. So that way, we want to encourage them to take their signs down so we don't have signs out there on a 24-hour basis. Again, coming out of the workshops was the subdivision signs. So we have various developers in the city. And unlike certain jurisdictions where there's model homes that are typically associated with them, our developers kind of do just standalone models with each of their developments. And so they were desiring the opportunity to have off-site signage. And so this particular ordinance was drafted with that in mind, allowing them to have up to 3 off-site signs. They can be up to 48 square feet in area. They have to be at least on a half acre or larger lot. and they have to be allowed for a subdivision that has at least a minimum of 50 units within it. So this would allow for our residential developers to have that ability to have off-site advertising to help direct people in off the freeways or from other areas of the city to their residential developments. One thing it does not allow is it does not allow for them to use Connex containers for their signage, and that was one of the requests that was brought forth. Keeping with how we deal with Connex containers, we did prohibit it in this code. Moving on with the ordinance repeal for our subdivision ordinance, the July 1983 ordinance, as it states in the date, is from 1983. It's very old, it's antiquated, and in keeping with state statute, the biggest change is requiring that final plats and preliminary plats are now to be administratively approved, so they no longer go through any type of public review. As long as the zoning is in place, the preliminary plat and final plat would be a by right review. It would be administratively approved through the city's engineering department and the city's development services department. With that being the case, what's on the next few slides really talks to the effect that we would be revealing various sections of the municipal code, sections 2-142, 146, 5-2, 5-5, and 5-8. This will allow us to align and put our subdivision ordinance as well as our grading ordinance and policies, including an at-risk grading ordinance policy that was also required as part of a state statute amendment, to go ahead and put that into one single document and for one single source of reference for our development community. So again, it repeals and replaces, it's a repeal and replace strategy. It replaces outdated ordinances with a streamlined compliant version. Key takeaways: administrative approval only per state statute, no longer a public review. Establishes our processes that were previously undefined or absent: minor land divisions, lot splits, parcel combinations, and lot line adjustments. Provides clear criteria, complete submittals for to allow for applicant expectations. It reduces barriers for our homeowners and small developers. The detailed process for a pre-plat and final plat being administratively approved, the subdivision needs to comply with all subdivision standards. No more waivers. You may recall you would see waivers that would come before you previously. With that, we looked at what the block lengths are, and we looked at 1,500 feet being that of an average block length that we were being asked to do waivers for. It still promotes pedestrian pathways internal to the subdivision. We also looked at cul-de-sacs and shortening them, and we shortened them to 500 feet. And this really comes down to a public safety concern, comes down to having also our fire department being able to access those cul-de-sacs and not having long dead-end areas where it actually impacts our public safety. And then again, aligning with our subdivision ordinance and the zoning code, definitions for lots, lot lines, lot areas, and so forth. And then including dedicated indemnification language to be codified in the ordinance, which does support the fact that we do have property owner maintained detention or retention basins moving forward. This also combined our grading ordinance into one area. So it talks about the sections that we're repealing, but again, it allows for streamlined area for our development community to come to one single document to get all of their grading requirements. And it does allow for expanded standards for at-risk grading in accordance to state statute. And it allows for us to also take on assurances to ensure that if we are doing at-risk grading, that there is protection for the city in the event that that developer not be able to complete their grading or their project. It does allow for limited grading prior to issuance. It allows for supports flexibility, project phasing with protective conditions, as is talked about with the financial assurances. Just to recap in regards to the overall public outreach, we did development workshops January of this year, May of 2025, July of 25, September of 25. For the development process and the changes, we did a roadshow development. We held it here at our council chambers. I went down to Lake Havasu and met with our development partners that we have down there, the design professionals, and then ultimately took their input and brought it back, and we implemented the trial period back in August of this year. We've done 2 rounds of public drafts for both the zoning ordinance as well as the subdivision and grading ordinance. We collectively took in over 127 comments from the community, developers, and design professionals. And for those that did reach out, we did work one-on-one collaboratively through various work sessions to address any outstanding issues, to provide clarifications and potential amendments that are before you this evening. This was reviewed by the city's Planning and Zoning Commission just last week, November 12th. The commission did recommend approval of a vote to 6-0 to the mayor and city council. It has been publicly noticed. It is a public hearing before you this evening. We are asking that the council recommend approval for the comprehensive zoning code under ordinance 1985, as well as the subdivision standards and grading ordinance under ordinance 1986. With that, I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Jason, thank you. Council, any questions for Jason on these two items? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, being that this is a public hearing, we will open a public hearing on item 4A, approval ordinance number 1985. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this subject? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Council, can we have a motion then approving item 4A, approval of ordinance number 1985?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And then item 4B, approval of ordinance number 1986, a city-initiated amendment to amend the City of Kingman Municipal Code, specifically sections 2-142, 2-146, 5-2, 5-5, and 5-8, and to establish the city's subdivision and grading ordinance dated January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 1986 is a city-initiated amendment to amend the City of Kingman Municipal Code, specifically sections 2-142, 2-146, 5-2, 5-5, and 5-8, to consolidate the city's subdivision and grading standards into a single reference document, hereinafter referred to the City of Kingman Subdivision and Grading Ordinance, dated January 1st, 2026, and to concurrently repeal the city's current subdivision ordinance, July of 1983, adopted by Ordinance 504 and amended through August of 2019. Staff recommends approval. Council, any questions on this continuing thing? Jason did a great job explaining all this to us. Okay, seeing none, we'll open a public hearing for item 4B, approval of ordinance number 1986. Public hearing is open. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on it? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Council, can we have a motion then approving item 4B, approval of ordinance number 1986?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Jason.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, if I could just for a moment, this is not an easy undertaking. This was a huge commitment on my staff's behalf, utilizing your direction, the consultant that we used, and I just really want to give thanks to all of you as well as my staff for being able to bring this forward tonight, as well as that of working with the development community. So much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, Jason, I'm sure the rest of council echoes my thoughts, but thank you for you and your staff and all the work that you put into this. And over the last year, the public meeting with the public, the outreaches, everything, huge effort.
Thank you.
And all culminating down to this. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, would you like some water?
Real good. Moving on to our agenda. Item 5, announcements by mayor, council members, and city manager. Manager Walsh, anything?
Nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
Councilor Walker? Nothing tonight, thank you. Councilor Savage?
Yeah, just took a tour of the 21 remodel. That fire station looks good. They did a great job, and I feel the citizens will be very happy with the direction the fire department's going with their improvements. Thanks.
Thanks for bringing that up, Councilor Savage. Councilor Ward? Nothing. Great. Councilor Saley? Councilor Dykens? Vice Mayor?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Okay, finally, most importantly, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week. And of course, we are in the middle of the holiday seasons already, as we can see by all the advertising going on and all that. And just encourage people to be kinder, maybe to be more civil. And remember, when I am saying that, I am the worst offender. I'm saying that to myself too. So, and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, to be safe. A couple of things I did want to bring up. Holiday gifting option for our senior community. Senior Angel tags will be available starting here at City Hall on next Monday, the 11/24, at the city clerk's office. All tags and wrap gifts should be returned to the clerk's office by December 15th. And then also, our Kingman Youth Advisory Council is currently holding a bedding and coat hoodie drive through December 11th. And of course, those are also being collected by our city clerk's office. So if you could support those great causes in our city. That is it. Council item number 6, council request for future reports and updates. Seeing none. Number 7, executive session. We are not having any executive session tonight. We are adjourned. Thanks again for everybody being here.